Now today's topic is based on plant protection. And when you hear the word plant protection, what comes to your mind? Plants? What about the plants? Something about the plants. Protect plants from diseases. Protect plants from insects. Very good. So we will now go into the fourth topic.
So you read to me what is plant protection. Anyone person?
Who would like to read for us? Ashana, please read for us. Stand, please. All right, we should listen.
Plant protection. Plant protection is the science and
Practice.
practice of managing plant diseases, weeds, and other pests, both vegetable and
Vertebrate and invertebrates
that damage agricultural crops.
and forestry. Good. So who can tell me what is a vertebrate? Yes, Vidya. Very good. And what about invertebrates?
That don't have
Very good.
So now we see that both of those animals, they damage our crops, agricultural crops, also forestry, right? Did you know that forestry is also part of agriculture? Well, forestry is a part of agriculture, right? And from the forest, what do we get from the forest? From the trees in the forest, what do we get? We get lumber, right? So that we build houses and so on, right? So, plant protection is science and practice of managing plant diseases, weeds, and other pests. So when you hear plant protection, it is just not about managing pests and diseases, right? It's also about managing weeds as well, right? And we all know weeds are unwanted plants. Is that clear? Any questions? So we have pathogens that causes diseases. For instance, we have viruses, bacteria, and fungi, correct? So I'll play a video for you. Let you have a clear understanding of what is plant protection, right? Please pay attention.
Crop protection. Do you know, still the production of crop has many other obstacles to be taken care? Some of them are weeds, insects, and plant diseases. Now, let us learn to find some more details about them. Weeds. Did you ever visit a crop in villages? Then you might observe along with plants in the field, you can find some other plants with them. Those plants are called as weeds. Do you know how the weeds affect the plants? The weeds affect the water supply, nutrients, sunshine, etc., which are available to the plants. Hence, the field should be weeded at regular intervals. Insects and plant diseases. Apart from weeds, plants are also affected by insects. But there are also some insects which eat the stems of the plants, nibble the leaves, and destroy the roots, thus affect the production of crop. Other than insects, some of the microorganisms also destroy the crops. Even though some of the microorganisms help in the supply of nitrogen to the plants, but some others destroy the crops. We can't see the microorganisms on the plants, but we can find how it causes destruction to the plants. Microorganisms causes shriveling and discoloration of leaves, rusting of stems and leaves, fungal growths, etc. Hence, to protect the crops, farmers apply insecticides, fungicides, and chemicals, etc. to the crop. But even though those insecticides, chemicals, etc. are helpful to the crop from pests, they're also being harmful to the health of the human beings. Let us find how. When chemicals are sprayed to the plants, most of them remain in the soil and find their way into the water sources, which are harmful to the human health. When the farmers spray chemicals to the field, they're also getting exposed to them, inhale them, and thus it enters into the human body. Alternative measures are introduced to prevent such complications. For example, natural pest controlling methods. Along with harmful insects, we can also find some eco-friendly insects which help to protect the crop from these harmful insects. For example, spiders, dragonfly, ladybird beetle, mirids, etc. These insects eat worms like jacids, thrips, and stem borers, etc. Some bacteria like Trichoderma bacterium, Bacillus thuringiensis destroy some of the pests in the egg stage itself. Mixed crops also can control some of the pest and insect diseases. Cultivation of black gram or groundnut after paddy crop prevents Tungrovirus on paddy. After cotton, cultivation of maize and gingerly prevents the gram caterpillar. After red gram, cultivation of maize and corn prevents spotted bollworm and dried diseases. Thus, with introducing natural control methods, both improvement in food production and sustaining soil health and environmental protection can be achieved.
Such as viruses, bacteria, and fungi.
So in that video for you, so you have a better understanding, right, how these pathogens affect agricultural crops.
A healthy plant can synthesize proteins in order to grow, absorb water and nutrients and translocate them to where they are needed, perform photosynthesis and lose byproducts through the roots and through transpiration, and reproduce in order to bear fruit or seeds. But just like humans and animals, plants can get sick and result in visible symptoms. And like humans, plants can be attacked by insects and pathogens such as viruses, bacteria and fungi. Ill health can also be caused by deficiencies in nutrient ions, which are vital for growth and development. Now we will look at some specific examples. Plants can suffer massive infestations. One insect example, the aphid, swamps a plant in vast numbers. Each aphid has piercing mouthparts that tap into the leaf, so that they can feed on the sap. This results in a wilted or distorted leaf that cannot photosynthesize correctly. A byproduct of all this eating is a honeydew that they exude from their hind gut, which often is collected by ant soldiers who guard over their flock. If this isn't bad enough for the plant, secondary infection can occur, with aphids transferring viruses through their mouthparts and leaving holes in leaves for other pathogens to make use of. Another problem comes in the form of honeydew residues, which is the perfect source of food for fungal colonies such as black sooty mold. A classic virus is the tobacco mosaic virus, or TMV. It has a rod-like structure consisting of a coat of proteins positioned helically around a single strand of RNA, and was actually the first virus to be described by Adolf Meyer, but can enter wound sites. Once it's in, TMV can hijack plant cells to aid its own replication. As the name suggests, the virus leaves a mosaic pattern on the leaves and also causes molting, cellular death, stunting and leaf curling. This virus can devastate tomato crops.
Infection in plants is black.
So for the virus there, right? You see we have the TMV virus. And that virus there, it affects the plants. Firstly, it goes through the leaf and it affects the plants by causing a mosaic pattern on the leaf, and it destroys tomato, right? It's very destructive towards tomato. Any questions on virus?
An example of fungal infection in plants is black spot fungal disease. It can infect any plant with fleshy leaves, and it's really common in roses. This is a big problem for ornamental growers, where looks are everything. A spotty plant can affect its value. Sometimes, disease is not caused by an infection, but by a nutrient deficiency. In fact, plants can be damaged by a range of iron deficiency conditions. For example, stunted growth caused by nitrogen deficiency. Nitrate ions are needed for protein synthesis, and are therefore important for growth and repair, as well as all of the plant's enzyme-controlled functions. Another example of nutrient deficiency is a change of leaf colour called chlorosis, which is caused by magnesium deficiency. Magnesium ions are needed to make chlorophyll, which is essential for photosynthesis and energy production. Many plant disease symptoms are non-specific, like spots on the leaves, so it's not always easy to identify what's causing the symptoms. Identification can be made in a range of ways. For example, reference to a gardening manual or website, taking infected plants or a sample of a plant to a laboratory, or using testing kits that contain monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies work by binding to parts of the infected viruses, bacteria or fungus which is suspected of causing the infection. Sometimes plants do not show symptoms because they, like humans, have evolved a range of ways to avoid and fight infection. The first barrier to infection is the plant's preformed defences. These can be physical barriers like cellulose cell walls, tough waxy cuticles on leaves, or layers of dead cells around stems which fall off like bark on trees. There may be mechanical adaptations, such as thorns and hairs, or leaves which droop or curl when touched, mimicry to trick animals. Or the responses to infection can have a chemical basis, such as antibacterial chemicals even we can use. Poisons like the toxins in nettles that cause us to come up in blisters, and plant defense molecules that are produced as a response to attack. These chemicals can affect the pathogen or insect directly or induce cell death to stop the attacker in its tracks. Plants are so clever they can even send signals in the air to call on insect predators that will take out an attacker. In summary, plants have a range of physical and chemical barriers to prevent infection, but they can become infected with bacterial, viral, fungal pathogens or insect pests. If this happens, the plant can produce chemicals in an attempt to limit the infection. Plants can also get sick if their soil is deficient in nutrients.
So class, what would have you just learned here? Yes, Shine. Okay, so plants, they will normally protect themselves naturally. However, they are not, let's say, they are also prone to getting diseases and viruses, right? Meaning that they, even though they try to protect themselves, they can still become infected. Is that clear? Right. So, can you recall that we were discussing earlier that from plant protection, plants could be attacked by insects. We have vertebrates and we have invertebrates also. Good. So here are some pests responsible for the destruction of crops. We have insects, mites, nematode, rodents. Everyone know what's a rodent? Rats, right?
The big one. How many of them is a big one? Good. Big like everybody. Big like me now, right?
And even though let's say we plant a crop of tomatoes, the tomatoes will not only be affected by, let's say, the boars and snails, right? Rodents, they destroy tomatoes because it's a soft crop. They destroy it easily, right? We have slugs and we also have snails and birds. And we all know the birds would normally go and they would pick off the flowers, right? Also they pick the fruit, right? Any questions on this? Sure?
Would you say a goat causes destruction to a crop or a sheep? Goats or a sheep causes destruction to a plant? Because it is called a what? You don't bite it out, right? So if you don't have fencing for it, that the goat or the sheep would go and eat out your berries. Isn't that so? And your fruits. So that is a vertebrate or invertebrate? Vertebrate.
So to add to what Miss said, right? Even though you have let's say you are rearing some goats and sheep, even though they are beneficial to you, they could still be considered a pest, right? Because they destroy your crops. Is that clear? Good. So we have vertebrates and invertebrates, right?
So here we have, just tell me what crop is this? Pak choy, right? And if you look at the leaves, I'm going to pass some around, what would you see? What would you see? What would you observe? Pass this out. What do you see here? It bites up. What do you think would cause this? Pest? What else? Select one.
Which one? Which one is it? Insects, right?
Insects.
Insects, right? And from here we see that this here is a chewing insect, right? Because the insect here that destroy this crop, they bore holes into the leaves, right?
And this is not good for sales as a farmer, is not so? Because you cannot take this and go and sell it. So you need to protect them, right? You need to protect your crop.
So here we have some insect names of insects that will normally destroy our crops. We have spider, we have honeybee. Even though the honeybee is beneficial, it's also, in some cases, a pest, right? For instance, the banana flower or the plantain flower, they go and they suck on the flower, and when the plantain now comes out from that flower, you'll see there's black spots on the plantain. That is caused from the bees going and suck on the flower when the flower will have just emerged, right? We have the ants, and we all know the ants will go and chew on the fruits, right? For instance, okra, we have the ants will chew on the okra, tomatoes. And I'm using tomatoes because tomato is one of the easiest crop to be destroyed by insects. Yes? Yes, ants go on cherry tree also and eat the fruit, right? We have beetles, we have crickets, and cricket is very destructive when it comes to your crops, especially our seedlings, right? people do and they cut down the seedlings. They don't necessarily feed on the crop, they destroy by cutting it down, right? We have grasshopper, butterfly, and so many more. Rodents. Yes, rodents, and we all know we have rodents which are rats. We have a possum. Anybody know what's a possum? Everybody knows a yari?
Yes, sir.
Good. The possum is a yari. Right? And we all know that the yari will destroy. What the yari will do to our livestock? Eat the chicken, right? Baby chicken, right? Good. So the opossum is also a pest in agriculture.
So methods of pest and disease control, we have cultural, biological, chemical, integrated pest management. So anybody know what is cultural? What about biological? Chemical?
Anyone? Well, let me tell you what is culture, right? Let's say we would have planted, we get a plot of land, we planted boro. The first time we harvested our boro, we got lovely boro, a lot of boro. So we decided to plant again after the harvest of that. The second time we would not have gotten so nice boro, so many boro. What do you think we should do? Plant our boro again? What do you think we should do? Want to do that? We should plant another crop, right?
Or what do you call it? Crop rotation.
So we should rotate the crop. And after that, maybe we could try some boro again, right? On that crop. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Chemical. Using poison or substances to get rid of the pest, right? Integrated pest management. This is a big one. Anybody know what this is? IPM. IPM is basically where you introduce pests to get rid of pests. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
example, you have a caterpillar on one of your tomato leaves, and you bring in probably a bird, you will pick off the caterpillar. And at the same time, the same very bird can even pick your flower off the tomato tree, and you can't get no crop.
Well, one of the pest management systems that they have that works very well is the introduction of the ladybug. The ladybug would get rid of other insects there, right? You know the ladybug, the black and red ladybug?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if you have insects such as ants and so on, small insects destroying crops, the ladybug will be introduced to get rid of those pests. Any questions on IPM? So we all see here we have methods of pest control which are cultural, biological, chemical, and IPM, integrated pest management, right? Good. So, yes, for your activity, there are some questions here, right? And Miss will distribute some papers for you to write these questions and give us your answers. So we just go through them so we can do a bit of recap so you'll get your answers, right? What is plant protection? Ways in which we protect our plant from pests and diseases, right? Good. Yes, that's clap. Next one. List two pathogens that causes diseases that affects the yields or growth of crop. We just discussed two. We discussed three and we looked at two videos. What are they?
Viruses.
Viruses and
Insects, yes.
viruses and fungi or bacteria, right? Good. What are two methods that are used for the control of pests and diseases in agricultural crops? That was the last thing we just discussed. Cultural, chemical, IPM, and biological, right? Good. So that is the end of our lesson. Please answer your questions on the paper and submit same. Thanks,